You've felt it, haven't you? That profound sense of isolation. That feeling that no matter how many people surround you, no matter how deeply you love or are loved, there's something fundamentally alone about your existence. You thought it was just a feeling, a psychological state, something that could be fixed with connection, with intimacy, with understanding. But what if I told you it's not just in your head? What if loneliness isn't a bug in the human condition? It's a feature built into the very fabric of reality. I'm Richard Feynman, and I've spent my life studying the deepest laws of physics, from the behavior of subatomic particles to the structure of space and time. And I've discovered something haunting. Loneliness is not an accident. It's inevitable. It's physically encoded into the architecture of the universe. What I'm about to show you will explain why you've always felt separate, why true connection seems impossible, why even in moments of profound intimacy, there's a gap that can never quite be bridged. This isn't depressing. It's liberating. Because understanding the physics of loneliness changes everything about how we relate to ourselves, to others, and to existence itself. Let me start with a simple observation. You have never experienced anything outside your own consciousness. Everything you've ever known, every sight, sound, touch, taste, smell, has occurred inside your skull, as electrical and chemical signals in your brain. You've never directly experienced the external world. You've only experienced your brain's representation of the world. When you look at a sunset, you're not experiencing the sunset. You're experiencing the neural patterns created by photons hitting your retina, converted to electrical signals, processed through multiple stages of your visual cortex, and constructed into a conscious experience. When someone touches your hand, you're not experiencing their hand. You're experiencing nerve signals interpreted by your somatosensory cortex. When someone tells you they love you, you're not experiencing their love. You're experiencing vibrations in air converted to neural activity in your auditory cortex, processed through language centers, tagged with emotional significance by your limbic system. You have never left your skull. You never will. You are trapped inside a prison of subjective experience that can never be escaped. This is the first physical basis of loneliness. We are each sealed inside our own private universe of consciousness, forever separate from direct contact with anything or anyone else. Let me show you something even more profound about your isolation. Something built into the very structure of spacetime. According to special relativity, nothing can travel faster than light. This isn't just a practical limitation. It's a fundamental feature of the universe. The speed of light isn't just the speed of light, it's the speed of causality, the maximum speed at which any influence can propagate through space. What this means is that there is no such thing as now that extends across space. There is no universal present moment. When you look at someone across the room, you're not seeing them now, you're seeing them as they were nanoseconds ago, the time it took light to travel from them to you. When you look at the moon, you're seeing it as it was 1.3 seconds ago. When you look at the sun, you're seeing it as it was 8 minutes ago. When you look at the nearest star beyond our sun, you're seeing it as it was over 4 years ago. But here's what's truly haunting. Because of the finite speed of light and the structure of space-time, there is no way for you to share a moment with anyone else. There is no now that you and another person simultaneously inhabit. The very structure of the universe prevents simultaneous connection. By the time information from another person reaches you, that moment of them has already passed. You're always interacting with the past version of everyone you encounter. Even at the speed of thought, the electrical signals in your neurons traveling at roughly 100 meters per second, there's a delay. When someone speaks to you and you respond, there's a gap, a tiny gulf of time that can never be eliminated, because causality has a speed limit. You are always alone in your present moment. Everyone else exists in your past. Now let me take you deeper, to the quantum level, where the loneliness becomes even more fundamental. In quantum mechanics, we have something called the Heisenberg Uncertainty Principle. It states that certain pairs of properties, like position and momentum, cannot both be known with arbitrary precision simultaneously. The more precisely you know one, the less precisely you can know the other. But this isn't just about measurement limitations. It's about the nature of reality itself. These properties don't have definite values until they're measured. The electron doesn't have a precise position and momentum that you simply can't measure. It literally doesn't have both at the same time. Now, here's where it gets philosophically devastating. To truly know something, you must interact with it. But the act of interaction changes what you're trying to know. You can never know something as it is independent of your observation. You can only know it as it is when you're observing it, which is different from what it is when you're not observing it. This applies to everything, including people. To know another person, you must interact with them, talk to them, observe them, touch them. But your very presence changes who they are. The person they are with you is not the person they are alone. The person they are when being observed is not the person they are when unobserved. There is a version of every person that exists only when no one is looking. A true self that can never be witnessed because the act of witnessing changes it. You can never truly know another person. And they can never truly know you. There is an irreducible mystery at the core of every consciousness that must remain forever hidden. Let me show you another physical basis for loneliness, one rooted in thermodynamics. The second law of thermodynamics states that entropy, roughly speaking disorder, always increases in a closed system. The universe naturally tends toward maximum disorder, toward heat death, toward equilibrium. But you are not disorder. You are a highly organized structure. Your body maintains precise temperatures, chemical concentrations, information patterns. You are an island of decreasing entropy in a universe of increasing entropy. How do you maintain this? By constantly consuming low entropy energy and expelling high entropy waste, carbon dioxide, excrement. You are a dissipative structure. You maintain your organization only by accelerating the disorder of your surroundings. But here's what this means for connection. You are fundamentally in competition with everything else for the resources needed to maintain your order. Every organism is fighting against entropy, trying to maintain its organization, its structure, its existence. And we can't all win. The universe has limited low-entropy resources. Your gain is potentially someone else's loss. Even beyond physical resources, think about attention, time, emotional energy. These are finite. Time you spend with one person is time you can't spend with another. Emotional energy you invest in one relationship is energy you can't invest elsewhere. You are a bounded system with finite resources in a universe of competing bounded systems. Complete merging is thermodynamically impossible. You must remain separate to remain yourself. If you truly merged with another person, if your boundaries dissolved completely, you would no longer be you. You would be something else. To be an individual consciousness is to maintain boundaries, and boundaries mean separation, and separation means loneliness. Now let's talk about information and consciousness, because here we find perhaps the most profound source of loneliness. Your conscious experience, what philosophers call qualia, the redness of red, the painfulness of pain, the joy of joy, these are subjective experiences that exist only in your consciousness. I can describe the color red to you. I can tell you it has a wavelength of about 700 nanometers. I can explain how it activates long wavelength cone cells in your retina, how that signal gets processed through your visual cortex. But I cannot transmit to you the experience of redness itself. If you were born blind, no amount of description, no matter how detailed, could convey what red actually looks like. The qualitative experience is fundamentally private, fundamentally incommunicable. Now here's the terrifying question. How do you know that your experience of red is the same as my experience of red? We both call the same things red, we both pass the color tests, but the actual subjective experience in your consciousness might be completely different from the experience in mine. Maybe what you experience when you see red is what I would experience if I saw blue. We'd never know because we have no way to compare our subjective experiences directly. We're trapped behind the veil of our own consciousness. This extends to everything. When you feel love, is it the same experience I have when I feel love? When you're in pain, is it the same pain I feel? When you understand something, is it the same understanding? We use the same words, but we have no way to verify we're talking about the same experiences. We are each alone with our qualia, unable to truly share the texture of our inner lives. Language is a crude tool attempting to map between two incompatible systems. It's like trying to perfectly translate poetry from one language to another. Something essential is always lost because the conceptual structures don't map perfectly. You will never be understood. Not completely, not really. And you will never completely understand anyone else. There is an information barrier that cannot be crossed. Now let me show you why evolution built this loneliness even deeper into our psychology. Humans evolved as social primates. Cooperation was essential for survival. Being ostracized from the group meant almost certain death. So natural selection created powerful emotional systems to keep us connected to our groups. But here's the catch. Natural selection also created intense competition within groups. You're competing for mates, for status, for resources. Your genes are in competition with everyone else's genes for representation in the next generation. This creates a fundamental tension. You need others for survival, but you're also competing with them. You need to cooperate, but also to protect your interests. You need to share, but not too much. Evolution's solution was to give you a self, a bounded unit of interests that are distinctly yours. Your genes care about your survival and reproduction more than anyone else's. You feel your pain more intensely than you can ever feel anyone else's pain. Your joys, your fears, your desires, they're more vivid, more motivating, more real to you than anyone else's could ever be. This asymmetry is built into the architecture of consciousness by evolution. You are the center of your universe because evolution made you that way, and everyone else is the center of their universe. We are each locked in our own private worlds, able to model and simulate others' experiences, but never to truly feel them. This is not a failure of empathy. It's a feature of how evolution designed consciousness. Mirror neurons allow you to simulate others' experiences in your own brain, creating a pale shadow of empathy. But it's always a simulation, always mediated through your own neural architecture, always less vivid and compelling than your own direct experience. Evolution built loneliness into you because absolute connection would undermine the very concept of a self, and a self was necessary for survival. Let me show you something beautiful and sad from mathematics, specifically topology, the study of space and boundaries. In topology, we study properties of objects that remain unchanged under continuous deformations. And one of the most fundamental topological facts is this: bounded regions are separated by boundaries. You are a topologically bounded entity. Your skin forms a boundary between inside and outside. Your consciousness is bounded, there's your experience and everything else. For two bounded regions to merge completely, one of two things must happen. Either the boundaries must be destroyed, meaning the entities cease to be separate entities, or the boundaries must be maintained, meaning the entities remain fundamentally separate. You can move boundaries close together. You can create interfaces where information passes between them. But as long as the boundaries exist, separation exists. When you touch someone, your atoms never actually touch theirs. The electron clouds repel each other. You get extremely close, within nanometers, but there's always a gap. Always an electromagnetic force keeping you separate. When you kiss someone, when you make love, when you hold your child, you feel connection. But at the atomic level, you're still separated by electromagnetic forces. The sensation of touch is actually the sensation of repulsion. Your electrons and their electrons pushing against each other. Physical contact is not merging. It's mutual repulsion, experienced at close range. This is not meant to diminish the beauty of touch, but to show you that even in the most intimate physical contact, separation is maintained. You remain topologically distinct entities. Now let's address the deepest source of loneliness, the nature of consciousness itself. Consciousness is, by definition, subjective. It's the view from somewhere, the perspective from a particular vantage point. It's what it's like to be you, from the inside. But this means consciousness is inherently singular. There's no we consciousness in the same direct way there's a me consciousness. When two people share an experience, there are two consciousnesses having related but separate experiences, not one merged consciousness. Even in moments of profound connection, when you feel you're on the same wavelength with someone, when you finish each other's sentences, when you feel deeply understood, you're still two separate consciousnesses, having parallel but distinct experiences. You might both be looking at the same sunset, but you're having two different experiences of that sunset, processed through two different brains with different memories, different associations, different neural architectures. The hardest problem in philosophy of mind is called the hard problem of consciousness, explaining how and why subjective experience exists at all. We don't know why information processing in the brain creates the felt quality of experience. But we do know this. Consciousness appears to be fundamentally private. There may be no physical way for two consciousnesses to truly merge while remaining conscious. Some people hope that advanced technology might allow brain-to-brain communication, sharing of experiences, merging of minds. But even if we could perfectly transmit all the neural patterns from one brain to another, would that be shared consciousness or just very detailed communication? When you receive the neural pattern, it's being processed by your neural architecture, experienced by your consciousness. It's still mediated through your subjective perspective. The gap remains. To be conscious is to be alone with that consciousness. This is not a problem to be solved. It's the nature of what consciousness is. Now, you might be feeling despair. If loneliness is built into the physics of the universe, into the structure of space-time, into quantum mechanics, into thermodynamics, into evolution, into consciousness itself, what hope is there? But here's what I want you to understand. This loneliness is not meaningless. It's what makes connection precious. If we could truly merge, if boundaries could dissolve completely, if we could know each other's experiences directly, connection would be trivial, automatic, unremarkable. It's precisely because connection is difficult, because the gap can never be fully bridged, that every moment of genuine connection becomes miraculous. When someone makes the effort to understand you, knowing they can never completely succeed, that effort means something. When you feel even a partial resonance with another consciousness, knowing how vast the separation normally is, that resonance is beautiful. When you touch someone and feel closeness, knowing that atoms never actually touch, That sensation of closeness is a triumph over the loneliness built into the universe. Connection is not the absence of loneliness. Connection is the brave attempt to reach across the unbridgeable gap. And here's something else. Your loneliness connects you to everything that's conscious. Every person you've ever met, every person who's ever lived, has felt this same fundamental isolation. It's the universal human experience, the shared condition of being a bounded consciousness in a deterministic universe. In your loneliness, you're not alone. Every conscious being is lonely in the same way. We're all isolated together, all reaching across the gaps, all doing our best to connect despite the physical laws that keep us separate. Let me bring this to a close. Loneliness is not a mistake. It's not something that went wrong with you or with humanity. It's a fundamental feature of the universe, built into the speed of light, into quantum mechanics, into thermodynamics, into the topology of space, into the nature of consciousness itself. You are alone in ways you cannot escape, trapped in your own subjective experience, separated by the structure of spacetime, unknowable due to quantum uncertainty, bounded by thermodynamic necessity, unable to transmit your qualia to others, isolated by the singular nature of consciousness. But here's what's beautiful. Knowing this doesn't make connection less meaningful. It makes it more meaningful. Every relationship is an act of defiance against the loneliness built into reality. Every moment of understanding is a small miracle. Every expression of love is a rebellion against the separateness mandated by physics. When I say I love you to someone, I'm not claiming I've bridged the gap. I'm saying I see the gap. I understand we're forever separate. And still, across this unbridgeable distance, I reach towards you. That's what makes it profound. Not the impossibility of perfect union, but the beauty of the attempt. You will always be alone in your consciousness. You will never be fully known. You will never fully know another. The gap will always remain. But in that gap, in that space between separate consciousnesses, lies all the beauty of human connection. The poetry, the art, the love, the friendship, all of it exists in the attempt to bridge the unbridgeable. This is not a sad truth. It's a haunting truth. And haunting can be beautiful. You are cosmically alone. And you always will be. But so is everyone else. And in our shared loneliness, we find each other. The universe built loneliness into its very structure. But it also gave us consciousness, imagination, empathy, and the capacity to reach across the void toward other lonely consciousnesses. And that reaching, imperfect, incomplete, but genuine, that's enough. That's everything. Thank you. Now go forth into your beautiful, lonely existence and treasure every moment when another lonely consciousness reaches back toward you across the infinite gap.